Hare Krishna. I think I need to do something. Right, just having a few technical problems. So anyway, let's get started. And we're talking about today, we're talking about Bharata Maharaj. We're talking about Rishabhadev all these weeks, and his 100 sons. Eldest son is Bharat, we all know, and we're going to discuss about him today. So, talking about the activities of King Bharat. So, Shukadeva Goswami continued speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. So, after all, this is what Srimad Bhagavatam is all about. Shukadeva Goswami originally speaking to Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit is hearing, Shukadeva Goswami is speaking. My dear King Bharat, Maharaj was a topmost devotee, following the orders of his father, who had already decided to install him on the throne. He began to rule the earth accordingly. When Bharat Maharaj ruled the entire globe, he followed the orders of his father and married Panchjani, the daughter of Vishwarup. So let's pray. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukham Kroti Vachanam Pangum Langyate Grim Yat Kirpatam Hamandeshi Gurun Din Karanam Param Ananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishram Hari Om Tassat Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Sasvit Vyasam Tato Jem Udiriyat Nashta Prisha Abhidareshu Nityam Bhagavad Sevya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nestaki. Hare Krishna. So it's mentioned that just as the false ego creates the subtle sense objects, Maharaja Bharat created 5 sons in the womb of Panchjani, his wife. These sons were named Sumati, Rashtrabrita, Sudarshan, Avarn, and Dhumarketu. So, as we discussed before, this plant was known as Ajnab Varish. But since Maharaj Bharat reigned, it has become known as Bharat Varish. So Maharaj Bharat was a very learned and experienced king on this earth. He perfectly ruled the citizens, being himself engaged in his own respective duties. Maharaj Bharat was as affectionate to the citizens as his father and grandfather had been. Keeping them engaged in the occupational duties, he ruled the earth. So there was a system. Treat citizens like your children, nurture them, look after them, and keep them in their psychophysical nature duties. It is most important that the chief executive rule the citizens by keeping them fully engaged in their respective occupational duties. Some of the citizens were Brahmins, some were Kshatriyas, and some were Vaishyas and Shudras. It's the duty of the government to see that the citizens act according to these material divisions for their spiritual advancement. No one should remain unemployed or unoccupied in any way. One must work as a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra on the material path and on the spiritual path. Everyone should act as a Brahmachari, Grasta, Vanprastha, or Sannyasi. Although formerly the government was a monarchy, all the kings were very affectionate towards the citizens, and they strictly kept them engaged in their respective duties. Therefore, society was very smoothly conducted. So everyone was accounted for, everybody had to do something, they had to keep busy, because idle mind, what it does, I think concocts many ideas and systems in the head, that are not conducive to a normal life. So everybody was kept busy doing something, and they were all found there was always a system there that everybody could get involved in their own way. So with great faith, King Bharat performed various kinds of sacrifice. He performed the sacrifices known as Agnihotra, Darsha, Purnamash, Chaturmash, Pashu Yagya, wherein a horse is sacrificed. So even with these yagyas, so many people get employment, so many jobs are created. Where a kind of beverage is offered. Sometimes these sacrifices were performed completely and sometimes partially. In any case, in all the sacrifices, the regulations of Chatur Hotra were strictly followed. In this way, Bharat Maharaj worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So after performing the preliminaries of various sacrifices, Maharaj Bharat offered the results in the name of religion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. In other words, he performed all the yagyas for the satisfaction of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna. Maharaj Bharat thought that since the demigods were different parts of Vasudeva's body, he controls those who are explained in the Vedic mantras. By thinking in this way, Maharaj Bharat was free from all material contamination, such as attachment, lust, and greed. When the priests were about to offer the sacrificial ingredients into the fire, Maharaj Bharat expertly understood how the offering made to different demigods was simply an offering to the different limbs of the Lord. For instance, Indra is the arm of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Surya is the eye. Thus, Maharaj Bharat considered that the oblations offered to different demigods were actually offered unto the different limbs of Lord Vasudeva. So a lot of people discuss, they have questions about worshipping demigods. Now, demigods, as explained here, they are different limbs of the Lord. So the Lord is the main. Like if you compare like a tree, the Lord is the root and the rest are leaves. So it's better to water the roots, then everything is nourished. If you just watering the leaves, or only that part is usually nourished. But it says here that it's still going to the Lord Himself, because at the end of the day, that's His body anyway. They're parts of His body. But it's better to offer it to the root. The Supreme Personality of Godhead says that as long as one does not develop the pure devotional service of Sharanam Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, one must carry out his prescribed duties. Since Bharat Maharaj was a great devotee, one may ask why he performed so many sacrifices that are actually meant for karmis. So the karmis, they make sacrifices to the demigods. The fact is that he was simply following the orders of Vasudeva. As Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita, Sarva Dharman Pratajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Praja. Abandon all rights of religion and just surrender unto me. Whatever we do, we should constantly remember Vasudeva. People are generally addicted to offering obeisances to various demigods, but Bharat Maharaj simply wanted to please Lord Vasudeva. Just last week, some devotees were telling me that their family members have Krishna on the altar, but they also keep other demigods as well. And was that okay? And like that. I mean, for us, Hare Krishnas being, ISKCON, really, we should follow the temple altar system. Keep on the altar what is what is suggested, the system that's suggested by ISKCON or Srila Prabhupada. And you can have demigods. If you have demigods, you can put them on a separate table or altar, and then you can offer the prasad. Just like we take prasad, we can first offer it to the demigods, and they can also take. Bharat Maharaj simply wanted to please Lord Vasudeva. He stated, right, so done that. A yajna may be carried out to satisfy a particular demigod, but when the yajna is offered to the Yajna Purush, Narayan, the demigods are satisfied. The purpose of performing different yajnas is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. One may perform them in the name of different demigods or directly. If we directly offer oblations to the Supreme Personality Godhead, the demigods are automatically satisfied. If oblations to the Supreme Personality Godhead, demigods, if we go to the root of a tree, so this is what I was saying, if we go to the root of a tree, the branches, twigs, fruits, and flowers are automatically satisfied. When we offer sacrifice to different demigods, I want to remember that the demigods are simply parts of the body of the Supreme. If we worship the hand of a person, we intend to satisfy the person himself. If we massage a person's legs, we don't really serve the legs, but the person who possesses the legs. So the saying that even if you are serving the demigods, you are serving Lord Krishna himself. So you're not really serving the demigod, you're serving Krishna. All the demigods are different parts of the Lord, and if we offer service to them, we actually serve the Lord himself. But still recommended that you serve the Lord himself directly. Demigod worship is mentioned in Brahma Samhita, but actually the shlokas advocate worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda. For instance, worship of the goddess Durga is mentioned this way in Brahma Samhita. So in this way, being purified by ritualistic sacrifices, the heart of Maharaj Bharat was completely uncontaminated. His devotional service unto Vasudev, Lord Krishna, increased day after day. Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudev, is the original personality of Godhead, manifest as the super soul, as well as the impersonal Brahman. Yogis meditate upon the localized Paramatma situated in the heart. Jnanis worship the impersonal Brahman as the supreme personality, as the supreme absolute truth, and the devotees worship Vasudev, the supreme personality of Godhead, whose transcendental body is described in the Shastras. His body is decorated with Shrivatsa, the Kaustubha jewel, and a flower garland, and his hands hold a conch shell, disc globe, and lotus flower. Devotees like Narad always think of him within their hearts, and they always reciting Narayan. Destiny fixed the time for Maharaj Bharat's enjoyment of material opulences at 1,000 times, 10,000 years. When that period was finished, he retired from family life and divided the wealth he had received from his forefathers among his sons. He left his paternal home, the reservoir for all opulence, and started for Pulaha ashram, which is situated in Hardwar. So that's where Maharaj Bharat went. And it was amazing how the kings, they could rule for so many years and live a life of, excuse me, live a life of such opulence and richness, and then just give it up altogether. It's amazing how can how they are detached, or they can become detached from everything just like that. So in the gardens of Pulha ashram is mentioned that Maharaj Bharat lived alone and collected a variety of flowers, twigs, and tulsi leaves. He also collected the water of the Gandaki river, as well as various fruits and bulbs. With these, he offered food to the Supreme Personality Godhead, Vasudev, and worshipping him, he remained satisfied. And remember, he lived on his own, and that was one of the problems. In this way, his heart was completely uncontaminated and did not have the least desire for material enjoyment. All material desires vanished. In this steady position, he felt full satisfaction and was situated in devotional service. So everyone is searching after peace of mind. This is obtainable only when one is completely freed from the desire for material sense gratification and is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. So as stated in Bhagavad-Gita, Patra Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhakti Aprachati. Worship of the Lord is not at all expensive. One can offer the Lord a leaf, flower, a little fruit, and some water. The Supreme Lord accepts these offerings when they are offered with love and devotion. In this way, one can become freed from material desires. As long as one maintains material desires, he cannot be happy. As soon as one engages in the devotional service of the Lord, his mind is purified of all material desires. Then one becomes fully satisfied. So it's the material desires or the desires for the fruit which we have to avoid, which is called the Nishkam Karma Yoga. So having no interest in the fruit, and this is what Krishna tells us in chapter 3 in the Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga is actually Nishkam Karma Yoga, no interest in the fruit. And if you do that, that's how you would advance into, real bhakti, pure bhakti. The most exalted devotee, Maharaj Bharat, in this way engaged constantly in the devotional service of the Lord. Naturally, his love for Vasudeva, Krishna, increased more and more and melted his heart. Consequently, he gradually lost all attachment for regulative duties. The hairs of his body stood on end, and all the ecstatic body symptoms were manifest. Tears flowed from his eyes, so much that he could not see anything. Thus, he constantly meditated on the reddish lotus feet of the Lord. At that time, his heart, which was like a lake, was filled with the water of ecstatic love. Wow. When his mind was immersed in that lake, he even forgot the regulative service to the Lord. So this is how advanced Maharaj Bharat got. Maharaj Bharat appeared very beautiful. He had a wealth of curly hair on his head, which was wet from bathing 3 times daily. He dressed in a deerskin. He worshipped Lord Narayan, whose body was composed of golden effulgence, and who resided within the sun. Maharaj Bharat worshipped Lord Narayan by chanting the hymns given in the Rig Veda, and he recited the following verse as the sun rose. The predominating deity within the sun is Hiranmaya, Lord Narayan. He is, or as we know, Surya Narayan. He worshipped with the Gayatri Mantra, Om Bhur Bhava Svaha, Tat Svitar Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. He is also worshipped by the other hymns mentioned in the Rig Veda. For instance, Deha Sada Savitar Mandala Madhya Varti, within the sun. The Lord Narayan is situated and he has a golden hue. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated in pure goodness. He eliminates the entire universe and bestows all benedictions upon his devotees. The Lord has created this universe from his own spiritual potency. According to his desire, the Lord entered this universe as the super soul. And by virtue of his different potencies, he is maintaining all living entities desiring material enjoyment. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who is the giver of intelligence. So the predominating deity of the sun is another expansion of Narayan, who is illuminating the entire universe. The Lord enters the heart of all living entities as super soul, and he gives them intelligence and fulfills the material desires. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad-Gita, Cham Hirde Sanvishto. I'm sitting in everyone's heart. So basically, we're talking about Maharaj Bharat and his austerities and how amazingly he, for one, he's ruling a kingdom and he has so much opulence, and then he gives it all up, and then he goes to the forest, lives alone, is doing so much austerity, and is living on just fruit and berries, if that, and he has no opulence whatsoever. He's wearing a deer skin, probably sleeping on the floor, and living in a little hut. And amazingly, like we talk about prescribed duties, 1 minute they're doing the Kshatriya duties, ruling the kingdom, and then they get into like the Brahman state and worshipping Lord Narayan. So thank you all so much. And now Venkat Prabhu was there. Thank you, Hina Mataji, Jai Prabhu, Praveen Mataji, and Radharani. And right, I'd like to hear what you found in this past time. Obviously, we know Maharaj Bharat, and there'll be a lot more from Maharaj Bharat, and then we go into like Jat Bharat. We all know the story, the past time, but what can we learn from it? So we'll start at the top. Hina Mataji, what do you think?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. Thank you so much for the lovely class. I was just reflecting on how Maharaj set such a great example. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. That's okay. That's all right. Just checking. I was just reflecting on how Bharat Maharaj set such a great example of somebody who example of how to live. He demonstrate. In such a obviously he's like the extreme case of somebody with so much opulence, so much responsibility, someone with a very clear duty in life, but still he's still able to demonstrate how to live, how you conduct your duties in your life, and also how to leave your life at the end as well. So yeah, that was really the only thing I was kind of just thinking about, and how demonstrative that is in his life. And it sets an example of, we've got a clear path in our day-to-day duties, in our day-to-day life, in I say an average human lifespan. We've got a very clear path, and we just need to progress through that path, and we need to almost exit or leave this life in the right way as well. And that's focusing on what's important. You said how he obviously he was constantly engaged in the service of the Lord towards the end of his life, and obviously throughout his life he developed his bhakti as well, but became more and more important towards the end of the life. So that was my takeaway for today. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the thing is, like even Vishwadev, I mean, he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, and how they feel that they're contaminated by material energy, or at least they show that they're contaminated, and they need to purify themselves to go back home, and they go through that process, because especially being kings, that they are surrounded by so much maya, and they have like access to everything, and then they can certainly give it up, and then they have to sort of like their consciousness, they feel they're still contaminated, although they've left all the opulence and illusory energy. They still feel that their conscience is still contaminated, and they need to purify it. And so they go through this very severe austerity system for many years before they go back. And it's like being like radioactive, and they have to get into that radioactivity, to go into the spiritual world. So yeah, and it teaches us that obviously we can't do those standards, and we can't, we go to the forest, and it's not recommended in this yuga anyway, but it is recommended that we do nishkam bhakti, and we detach ourselves from the fruits, we detach ourselves from everything. And it's a system, we don't ignore everything, we don't ignore everybody, we don't ignore the home, the family, and the things. We just use them in the service of the Lord, and we see that worshiping or serving everyone in our family, or the wider society, we are serving the Lord while we're serving them. We see it, that we're serving them through the Lord rather than directly. So it's just a technical difference. That's what you have to do. Just change the technique, And this is what Prabhupada has taught us. And Jai Prabhu has made his contribution. He says a few summary points. Bharat Maharaj was the ruler of the whole world, and after his reign was over, the planet became known as Bharatvarsh. He performed various sacrifices to satisfy the Supreme Lord and was freed from all material contamination. He kept Lord Vasudeva constantly within his heart. After leaving home, he resided in Haridwar and passed his days in devotion activities. Offerings made to different demigods is simply an offering to the different limbs of the Lord. For example, Surya represents his eyes. Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Absolutely. So this is why it's recommended that we serve the Lord directly. We don't necessarily have to go through the demigods because that's the source of everything. Krishna is the source of everything. And Krishna says in chapter 10 that I am the source of everything. Everything emanates from me. Now, people were asking me questions on Sunday program last week, and most of them they have demigods, or their family members have demigods on the altar, and they were asking me what they should do, and I tried to tell them which is good. Then then later on, you think of a few things you could have mentioned, and one thing that came to mind later on was that yes, demigods, yes, we give respect to demigods. We don't ignore them. We give respect to demigods. But we only love Krishna. We respect the demigods, but as far as our heart is concerned, our love is concerned, we give that to Krishna. That's the only difference. We can respect them. We respect everyone. We respect everyone, in the world. Every entity, moving, non-moving, we respect them all, but love is only for Krishna. That's the difference. Hare Krishna. Praveen Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for the class. I don't have any contribution, but I'm happy to chant today, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. I hope you had a nice week. Yes, I heard something in the last few days regarding the same thing, the confusion people have in general about who is God. There's so many gods. And very nice explanation. I'm sure Srila Prabhupada must have mentioned this in one of his purports somewhere. We don't remember it. But what I heard was that Krishna is like father. If somebody asks, if you ask anyone in this world, who is your father, they will just mention one father's name. Yeah. Nobody will say that this is my father, that is my father. You'll have different relationships. Somebody might say that, like in our Indian culture, we'll say this is my chacha, or this is my mama, or this is my fufa, however, different names will be there. This is my brother, but father's name only will be one. So similarly, I think the best explanation I had was this, that you can just tell others that there's only one God, there's only one father, and the rest of them, for example, Shiva and Brahma, they're worshipping Lord. They have come from Lord. So there's no confusion that who is higher, who is lower, because the Lord, He is giving everything to them. So I thought that was very good explanation. I don't know if you all agree with that, because that made a lot of sense to me. I thought, wow, this is so simple to explain, and I'm sure everyone will agree with that, even if they don't understand the concept of Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the beginning, it's hard for everyone to understand. It takes time. But I think this can make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it is hard, and we don't encourage people to give up. If they just worshipping demigods and they're really not into chanting or anything, it's fine. You have to start somewhere. Yeah, then the Bahunam Janmanmati, Jnanamrita, Vasudeva Sarmati, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Even the Gyanis, who have so much knowledge, even they find it hard to understand that Vasudev is the source of everything, is the Lord. But it's fine, you go in stages. It's okay. Not everybody can jump straight to the top. If they want to take steps, that's okay. But we want to use the elevator. We want to go straight up. But if somebody wants to use the staircase, which is a lot more difficult and it takes longer time, but that's at least they will still get there. They will still get there eventually. They will get there to the top floor. But we are happy to take the elevator. And Srila Prabhupada has shown us the elevator. He said, look, you don't need to use the staircase. There's an elevator just there. Just use that. And you can go to the top straight up. While these people are still on the first floor, you can be on the 100th floor straight away. So that's the difference. But it's not wrong, but it's slow.
It takes time.
And it takes a long time. And it goes in a lot of stages, and we don't have such a long lifespan that we can take so many different stages. This is a thing. Even just worshiping the Lord directly, the lifetime doesn't seem long enough, right? Like Praveen Mataji, I remember you mentioning that you felt that you come into it a little bit late, that maybe you left it too late. We feel like that, right? So if you go in stages, then what chance have we got? Although using the elevator, we still think that we left it a bit late. So what about people who are, doing maybe just yoga or, worshipping demigods and doing all the yagyas, and there's many other, or worshipping the Nirankar, the form of God. So people are doing different things. There's so many different religions, so many different concepts, but it's best to go direct and reach the top.
And I think one other thing is there that it's all depending on people's desires. So like Krishna says, ye yatha mam prapadyante. So whichever way people's desire are, Krishna is manifesting that sort of energy to them. So that's the whole thing. And I think it's better if you come late sometimes into bhakti, because you will be reminded every day that I haven't got much time left. So best to intensify my bhakti. Because if you are young, sometimes you might think, okay, I'm doing so many rounds and I have read, okay, this much, these many books of Srila Prabhupada, it's fine, I've got a long time left. But I think there's a more state of urgency when you have joined the Krishna consciousness late. You'll be thinking of, using your time more wisely. So there's always positives in every situation, I think. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, well, let's do a couple of rounds. And as we mentioned, we want to offer both rounds, or at least one round, for quick recovery of our Ishani Mataji. You know her. She was till recently they were coming onto our program as well here, and obviously they've had problems, and now they were in India, and her health has declined, and we want to wish her the best and the whole family. And they have a young son, as you know, as well, only young lad, and we want to recover quickly. So please offer at least one of your rounds or both rounds to Ishani Mataji. Pri Mataji, if you could lead, and then Hina Mataji, are you okay to chant second round?
I am, Prabhuji. Yep, thank you so much. Yep.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, I want to do both rounds for Ishani Mataji's quick recovery. She's very,
That's
very
fine.
dear
No
to
problem.
all of
No
us.
problem, Praveen Mataji. You can do both if you wish
Yeah,
to.
so we just want to pray all the time so she recovers and gets